This is the High School Football America podcast for July the 20th, 2020. I'm Jeff Fisher. The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability and faster speed than Huddle Sideline. Plus, GameStrat has awesome customer service along with different plans priced right for every coach's budget. And right now, GameStrat is offering a discount of up to $200, and that means it's cheaper than Huddle Sideline. Plus, GameStrat is making it risk-free. If you make the switch now and there isn't a 2020 season, your money will roll right into 2021. No risk, and you can't beat that. But you have to act by July the 31st to get a demo. Go to GameStrat.com or click on the GameStrat banner ad located on every page of HighSchoolFootballAmerica.com. All right, heading to Henderson, Nevada, outside of Las Vegas, a program that has spent quite a bit of time over the last 3 or 4 years in the High School Football America 100, the national rankings. Liberty winning the 4A championship in the state last year, stopping that long streak by Bishop Gorman, and we've got the head coach of the program on there to talk a little bit about the Patriots and a lot about are we going to play some football in the state when he's put together a proposal with some fellow coaches there, and Rich Muraco's on the line to talk about that. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I look forward to talking to you.
Yeah, and we're going to get a lot of the players in that in on the back end, but like I said before, we kind of got things off and rolling here, and I started recording this. The news of the day, unfortunately, breaks in. I'm even going to talk about California, which just said it's pushing back to 2021. I know you had 3 Southern California teams on the schedule because you're not afraid to play anybody. I'll tell you that, folks. If you don't know who the Patriots play, you're going to find out in this interview. But reason I got you on the phone here today specifically, as I read in the Las Vegas Sun, that you and some coaches got together, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the state, especially as it relates to start dates and all that stuff. And I understand you guys have put together a proposal that you're presenting to the Nevada Interscholastic Activities Association. So I just wanted to give you kind of an open forum here to talk about why you did it and what the plan is spelled out to be right now in its initial form, since I guess you just put it in on Sunday.
Yeah, so back in early July, I think it might have been the 1st or 2nd of July, the NIAA put out a document basically putting their plan for the upcoming season. And when we read the document, it said that they were just going to roll with the football season as is, and then they weren't going to make any changes to the season. So if one part of the state couldn't play, but the other part could, they were just going to let it play out that way. And, as the numbers gotten worse here over the last several weeks, we've been, as coaches, we're kind of panicking a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we just wanted some direction. We felt like, we're supposed to put helmets on July 30th, which is less than 2 weeks away. And we haven't heard anything, a normal, rational person can see that we're not starting the football season on time because we're not going to be in phase 3 by that time. And we just felt like we needed to hear something, or we need some sort of guidance and direction from them. So we got together, my principal, a couple other principals, a couple of the coaches in the association, and we decided to come up with a plan so that they wouldn't just cancel the season on us. We didn't agree with, let's just play the season as is. And, if a school has an outbreak, they're shut down for a few weeks, or if a particular area of town gets shut down. So we decided that we thought it would be good if we put a pause on the season right now until, say, September 1st, and then kind of look at the data. It gives 6 more weeks of looking at data. Hopefully the numbers will go down, and maybe we'll be in phase 3 by then. And if it looks good and it's safe, then we could start practicing and have our first game at the end of September, and just do an abbreviated season, a 6-game, 7-week season. Still have the playoffs, still have a state championship. We would lose 1 round of playoffs, but we felt like that was a fair, compromise and a smart thing to do at this point. If in September, it doesn't look good and we need to shut it down further, and we're fine with that. But we don't want them to just give up on football.
Yeah.
We want them to make a commitment to pushing it back, whether it's at the winter time or the spring. So we talked to the Northern Coaches Association, up the group that's based out of Reno, and they agreed with us that we should aim for a mid-February start, with games starting in March, and same thing, do an abbreviated season, wrap up the state championship, early May. So that's what we put out there. I doubt that they'll follow our proposal, as is, but we felt like we got to start putting some pressure on to the leadership in the state and get them to make a decision. There's a lot of things at play right now that goes into their decisions, and we understand that, but we don't want to be out there, doing our conditioning and running around with essentially the understanding that we're not going to play in August. Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully they'll make a decision soon.
Yeah, we're talking with Rich Muraco, Liberty High School in Las Vegas, outside of Las Vegas in Henderson. And Coach, and I've been a glass half full guy since this pandemic began on all of the interviews. I've been saying, we are going to have a season. We're going to have a season. It may look completely different, but I think it's going to be there, and I still believe that. And I kind of hear that in your voice as well. But one of the things that I like, and I've been saying this to everybody that wants to listen to me, in some way, I want coaches to be in charge of what we should do with COVID, and it looks like you've kind of done that. You don't get a playbook, right? When you began coaching, no one gave you a playbook and said, hey, if here's a pandemic, here's what you do, right? But I love the fact that you guys have taken the bull by the horns. Talk a little bit about your program specifically there and how it's gone through phase 2. Obviously, again, you were hired to be a head coach, not a cleaning guy, but you had to kind of balance it. So how has it been going for you guys during this phase since you were allowed to go back and start practicing?
It was very difficult, with obviously everybody in the country is going through the same thing. One of the things that Nevada has, they don't really have a limitation on how much you can practice with your kids. Mm-hmm. So we spend a good portion of the year doing things that are football related, whether it's weight training, 7-on-7, spring ball practices, summer stuff. So when they shut us down, it was hard. It was hard having a purpose in your life without having football in it. So we did things early on, Zoom meetings, and we did a Google Classroom where we installed all our plays and our playbooks and tried to keep the kids as engaged as possible. The school district allowed us to start working out with the kids on July 6th. And, leading up to that, we thought, there's a pretty good chance we could be in phase 3, by the end of the month. And it's just gotten worse, the last couple of weeks. So we've been basically, the way the rules are in our state, we had to keep less than 10 people in a group if we're going to be inside lifting weights. And then you could have up to 50 people outside at a time. They wanted us to assign kids to pods or little groups that could be easily contact tracing could be done if something were to break out. And we've done that, but it's been difficult because, in the summertime we might bring the kids in from, 5 a.m. till 8 and be done. And now it's taking, twice as long to get everybody in. Mm-hmm. We're fortunate at Liberty where we have 2 weight rooms. So we're able to get 20 kids working out each hour. But, you got to stagger things and it's hard, it's been a learning experience trying to get kids to understand like, hey, socially distance at all times. I can only imagine what the school year is going to look like with the normal kids that don't listen as well as the athletes do. These are kids that, you tell them to run through a brick wall, they're going to run through a brick wall. But it's like, hey, get back up from each other, back up, put your mask on. It's definitely going to be a challenge moving forward. But I think we've done a pretty good job. What we do is we lift. My dogs are barking, sorry.
That's okay. It's life now, right?
So we lift half the group lifts, the other half conditions. And it's been going good, but we're getting ready to kind of shut it down, I think. A lot of coaches, we had a meeting on Friday night. We're going to basically tell our programs, hey, we're stopping until we get direction from the NIAA, and hopefully that'll put a little bit more pressure on them to make a decision sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and this interview is being done, folks, about 2 hours and 45 minutes since California announced that it's moving football to 2021. That's the third state to move to next year. And later today, around 5 o'clock Eastern, Florida will make its decision. Not sure where that's going. Texas is also rumored to make the decision today or tomorrow. But we're gonna talk real football, real Patriot football here in a second, Coach. This is the last question. I was just going to ask you what went through your mind knowing you had 3 big Southern California games on the schedule, and that's definitely a no-go. So in other words, if let's just say, I don't know, there was a miracle on earth and we could start on time, you'd be minus 3 games at this point. I know that's not going to happen. I'm saying it with tongue in cheek, but what went through your mind when you heard what California ended up doing?
Actually, I had heard some rumors late last week that California might switch to January start, and it actually kind of excited us coaches here at Nevada because we know that our state tends to follow whatever California does. So we thought if they come out and show that they're willing to extend the season into January, that maybe our state will be willing to do that too. So we're kind of excited for that. Our thing is, we want to play football. We want to do it safe. And we just want to get kids some games. It doesn't matter if it's a full season or not. Football's the one sport, and we said that in our letter to the NIAA. It's the one sport where there is no AAU or club ball. Kids get recruited exclusively from playing high school football. And that's not really the case in almost any other sport. Soccer, we probably have one of the best soccer teams in the state, but our kids aren't allowed to play high school soccer from their club coaches. And, basketball has AAU, baseball. Our baseball team played over 100 games last year in club. So we feel football is important, and we just can't give up on it. So I'm glad California decided to do that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Florida may follow. Of course, Texas is Texas, and I've already heard from some of my Texas coaches going, don't think we're going to follow any other state. But that's just the Texas mentality. They're Rich Muraco, the head coach at Liberty High School in Nevada. They were the 4A champs last year, number 62 in the High School Football America national rankings. And now we'll flip the switch here, Coach, and just talk football whenever it comes around. And I guess we'll base it upon the last statement I made during the question, which was you had 3 Southern California teams on the schedule. You have been known over the last several years for the willingness to play anybody. And of course, if you want to be that type of program, right, that has some national prominence, you got to play that sort of schedule. So tell me a little bit about your mentality behind playing a non-league schedule that most people would go, hey, Coach, you're nuts.
Yeah, I get that a lot. It started back in 2012. Gorman had, I think, just won their, 4th or 5th straight state championship. And, we were trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to close that gap? What do we need to do to compete with them for athletes? We would lose a lot of kids to Gorman. And so we decided that, we saw that they were out there playing a national schedule, and we decided, we needed to do that too. Just from the exposure standpoint for kids and, to tell parents, you don't have to pay $15,000 a year and go to Gorman. You can come to Liberty Public School and get a lot of the same experiences. So we started playing, maybe one game a year against a national team. None of the, there's good teams. Always tried to play really good programs. We played Hamilton in Arizona when they were rolling. Several other good teams. But as we went along, we just decided that we wanted to shoot for that national ranking. And we felt like the better teams that we could play would better prepare us to play Bishop Gorman because they were playing such high level competition. We realized that a lot of times we would just kind of walk through our league, walk through state play, and then we'd get to that game against Gorman, and we weren't battle tested. And when things would go wrong, we didn't know how to battle through that. So I've always taken the philosophy since then of I'm fine with taking a couple losses early in the year against really great programs because you can learn so much from those. And, it finally paid off for us this past year.
Yeah, in a big way, no doubt about that. And let's kind of lean back on that because we want to. You stay in the positive mode now. We're in this part of the interview here. So again, Gorman streak, everybody knew about it. Whether it was their national championship they won back in 2016 to all those wins in a row and all those state championships in a row. Now that you've had, let's see, probably about 7 and 8 months or so to think about it, I would assume the smile's still there. But tell me a little bit about that feeling when you realized you got over that hump, and it was a big hump.
Yeah, the year last year, we knew we had a good team coming in, and we took a huge schedule on 5 out-of-state teams. 4 of them were ranked in the top 30 in the country preseason. We knew it was going to be difficult, and never in a million years did I think we'd go 0-5 to start the year. And a lot of that was we weren't sure at the quarterback position. We had 4 guys that were all good kids competing. We had some injuries. And when Daniel Britt got back and healthy and he was able to win the job, he kind of changed the whole energy of our team, and the offense just completely changed with him because he was a true dual threat quarterback, and he just played so great for us when he went 10-0 as a starter. And that really kind of changed everything around. But I'll tell you, at the beginning of the year last year when we were 0-5, I didn't think there was any chance that we would beat Gorman. We were just trying to figure out how to get a win. And as we built momentum and it got up closer to that game, I felt like we really had a legitimate chance, especially first time we got to play them on our home field, and our home field's a disaster. So I'm sure they weren't used to playing in that bad of turf, and we used that to our advantage. It had rained that week, and
just over your field.
Got credited with 4 or 5 tackles. So yeah, but it's an amazing feeling when we finally beat them and put a little more pressure on us because we still had to win. Still had to go up north and play a very good Bishop Minogue team, and then we had to come back down and play the state championship game. So I kind of felt more pressure after we beat Gorman because I was like, I don't want to blow this,
Yep.
beat Gorman and then not win state. So
yeah, I failed to mention that it wasn't the state championship game. It was a couple later, but it was fun it's been fun to watch because again, all we ever knew when we created the algorithm was there's this team Gorman, they played everybody, and then there was the rest of you. You're all playing for second place, I guess was the best way to look at it. So congrats on that, and then again, COVID aside. Daniel Britt is coming back, right? You've got some players coming back. You got this great schedule. I told you before we rolled the tape what your preseason ranking was. You're the only person, by the way, I've told that to. Everybody else wanted to know. So yeah, that's between you and I right now. But I know it put a smile. I know it put a smile on your face. So tell me a little bit about this program that you do have ready to go whenever football comes, whether it's sometime later in September or sometime in February or sometime next May, whatever it may be. Get some of the kids in by name.
Sure. This was always the year, this season coming up, that I really thought would be the year that we overtake Gorman. I had 2 kids, Iris Fiaseo and Zephaniah Maya, who were starters for me as freshmen, both Division I players. Zephaniah is verbally committed to Colorado. Zyrus committed to San Diego State. And I was kind of thought all the pieces would come in place this year. Now, it happened last year, so I feel like we're just absolutely loaded, stacked, ready to go this year. We have 9 starters coming back on offense. My offensive line, we were joking around as coaches. I think the quarantine kind of helped the kids get some sleep, and they grew. It's like, I can't believe how big everybody got. I think our offensive line, we did the height and weight the other day, average 6'4", 315. So we're going to be big up front. We're not sloppy big. They're good looking kids. They're, thick kids, not fat, sloppy kids. So I'm excited about the line, led by Ben Roy, who's a UCLA commit at center. A couple of young kids that I think are going to step in and have a great season. My tight end was one of the top tight ends in the country, Maliki Matavao. He committed to Oregon. So we're kind of stacked offensively. A receiver that's got 20-plus offers. He's only going to be a junior. His name's Jeremy Bernard. So, we'll see. Hopefully we get a season, and we should put up some really good numbers offensively. Defensively, I was a little nervous. We lost pretty much our whole secondary, but we've had a couple transfers move in. Some of the kids that were backups last year have been looking really good, running around, moving around. So I think we're going to be fine in the secondary. Our linebackers are just stacked. We have 6-7 kids that can play, and led by Zyrus and Zephaniah, but I have a couple others, Jared Tufele, Zamir Marshall. They're both, quality high school football players that have an opportunity to maybe pick up an offer if we can get a season. So that's one of the things that really kind of disappoints me, by not having a season. Some of those kids that maybe weren't stars as juniors, it gets to be their senior year. I think they could have a really good year and pick up maybe a 1AA offer or maybe a smaller Division I school. They're not going to have that opportunity unless we play. So
yeah,
we'll see. I feel we're the biggest as far as size, and we're also the biggest as far as numbers. I think 84 kids on the varsity right now. So
size program.
Hopefully it'll happen. I do worry if we go to the spring and the 5 kids that I have that are D1 kids, that all of them were planning on graduating early and enrolling at their schools at the semester. So I don't know how that'll all shape out, if colleges are still going to allow kids to enroll early, or if the kids even want to, if they want to try to play their senior season.
Yeah, well, you just read my mind. I was going to ask you that question. The other thing, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, is it may not happen if college football moves to the spring, right? I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Rich Muraco, the head coach at Liberty High School, the Patriots, Nevada's state champs last year in 4A. And a couple of questions here away from the team about yourself. First off, how did a guy from the East Coast end up in Vegas, although I guess Vegas is a melting pot after all?
Yeah, so, I'm from upstate New York, Rochester area. Actually born in Niagara Falls. And when I was my senior year of college, applying for jobs, at the time, it was almost impossible to get a job in New York. Very little growth or movement in the PE fields. So I went to a teacher recruitment fair where they brought school districts from all over the country into Rochester, and actually had 3 job offers at that fair. One of them was Clark County, and my wife said, yeah, let's try it. Let's go to Vegas. So I was shocked that she was willing to move across country, and it was the best move for us. She was able to become a principal at a relatively young age, and I was able to become a head coach at a relatively young age, where if I would have stayed in New York, that probably wouldn't have happened quite as quickly. It's more settled there and a little more difficult to get hired and move up. So Las Vegas provided a lot of opportunities for us, and it blew my mind away when I went to the interview and they said they were going to hire 2,000 teachers that first year I moved out here. I was like, 2,000 teachers, like, that's insane. Like, we're lucky if one opening happens in our town in Pittsburgh, so kind of crazy, but it was a great move. It definitely was the right move for me professionally. And my family's here now. My mom's moved out, my brother, actually two of my brothers, so it's great here. We love it.
Well, I guess to use a bad pun, 2,000 hires, I guess you're not really gambling in that situation there. You got a pretty good shot at getting one of the jobs. And by the way, my brother lived in Rochester after he got out of the Navy. He worked, I remember, on the Kodak campus. It wasn't working for Kodak. So I understand. You're right. Probably not a whole lot of more opportunities. 2,000 to 1 were probably the odds, I would think, on that. Right. Rich Muraco, the head coach at Liberty here. Number 62 in the High School Football America 100. When they finally get to play, he's got a great program there. And let's just wrap up with this question. Had to be a big thrill for you last year to be nominated for the Don Shula High School Coach of the Year award as a finalist there. What I love about that award is, it goes beyond wins and losses and national rankings like we were talking about earlier. It talks about, what you do for kids, not just X's and O's and all of that. So tell me a little bit about, how it felt to be nominated and in the final 32, and what is your philosophy when it comes to, everybody's like, oh, kids are different these days. And then some coaches are like, no, they're the same. They're just, what is your philosophy as a head coach?
So first of all, it was a tremendous honor. I never even knew about it prior to last year because the Raiders obviously, are moving to Vegas, and they wanted to nominate me as part of their area that they cover. Getting to go down to Orlando and meet all the coaches from around the country has been special. We've formed a nice bond. We still communicate with each other throughout this past several months. So it was a very humbling experience for me. My philosophy as a coach, obviously, everybody wants to win, and I look at it like the winning will take care of itself if you do the right things, and if you can get kids to want to play for you, and if you do right by kids. And so that's what we try to do, not just myself, but my whole staff. I feel like high school sports, whether you're the star or even if you're, in our case, the 84th kid on the roster, there's a value to playing football, being on a team, learning all the characteristics and things that you can do. I'm kind of stumbling with my words here, but all the things that you can learn from playing football, hard work, self-sacrifice, discipline. They're things that kids crave. Some kids have two parents at home and are great parents and provide those things for them, and other kids don't have that in their lives, and they come to football or other sports and they need that. You mentioned that kids are different. Absolutely. Kids are different nowadays than they were, 30 years ago when I was in high school. But the main message is still the same, right? They want to be loved up. They want to be coached hard. They want to have structure in their lives. And our program's flourished with that. We do a year-round program. We really feel like the weight room and the structure is important, and the kids have bought into that. And that's what's kind of helped us stay good year after year. The older kids teach the younger kids. And when I first took over, trying to convince the kids that you know what you're talking about and getting them to buy in was a little challenging. But through the years, it's become easier and easier and easier because the proof is there. They see it. They see that if you work hard and you follow the rules and the expectations of the team, that we're going to have success, both personal success and team success. And some of the things that I'm most excited about is the ability to get kids college scholarships and go off to college just in general. A lot of kids wouldn't maybe have as good a grades if it weren't for sports.
Right.
So we do a lot of things to try to help them, with study hall, and we have great counselors at our school that are willing to work with athletes and, help their schedules and make sure they stay on track to graduate. So that's kind of my overall launching. I don't know if I did a good job answering the question.
No, you did. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to keep you away from trouble here, because when you win an award, certainly you're the guy accepting it and getting, all the accolades. But I better allow you to talk a little bit about that staff of yours. A lot of those guys been around with you for the 10 years since you've been the HC. Tell me a little bit about some of those guys that have helped the Patriots get to the level you've gotten to.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. I have a great staff. We only get 6 paid positions here in Nevada and CCSD. So the majority of my coaches do it for free. Most of them, I'd say about half are off-campus guys that have other jobs that are passionate about football and passionate about kids and really go above and beyond everything I ask them to do. They're all in. If we have 5 a.m. workouts, they're there. They adjust their work schedules around that. So I have several guys that have been with me since the beginning, starting with he's kind of the assistant head coach. His name's Nua Agatonu. He's probably one of the most important people in our program because he was the coach that convinced a lot of the Polynesian families to start moving into Liberty Zone. And that's a big part of our success. We have, I'd say, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but maybe 40% of our program is Polynesian descent, Hawaiian, Samoan, Tongans. And they're just such great families and football first families. And that was really the key to getting us over from being kind of a losing program to a competitive program. So I give him a lot of credit for that. And then I have Chad Kapanui, who is my offensive coordinator. He's been with me from the beginning. Started off as a quarterback coach, and he's just grown so much over the years as a coach. And the last couple of years, he's been the offensive coordinator, and our offense just taken off under his direction. And then my defensive coordinator, Kaipo Batoon, has been with me since 2012, and he does a great job. Extremely intelligent man. Runs a pretty complicated system. So at times, I'll yell at him like, "Hey, just dumb it down so we can play faster." But it's hard to go against him in practice every day because he does do some unorthodox things. But his brother is a defensive coordinator in college, and he's got a good support network there, and brings a higher level of football to our program. So those are the main guys. My strength and conditioning coach, Corey Anderson, has been with me for 5 or 6 years, and I'll put him against any strength and conditioning coach in the country. The real key to our success is the weight room. And, my principal, Derek Bello, was able to kind of buy into my philosophy and Corey's philosophy, and we were able to figure out a schedule where we're on block schedules, so we're only supposed to have class, like weight training class, every other day. But we were able to manipulate the schedule and double block weight training for football kids so they get that weight room every day, and that's what's really paid off for us.
Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure getting to know you here. I know there will be football in 20 or 21, but until that time, just enjoy a little bit of time off. It's stressful, being a head football coach of a program that plays a schedule like yours. But best of luck in 20 or 21, and thanks for joining us on the show.
Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
And that's today's High School Football America podcast, brought to you by the great new app, Small Player, Big Play, an age-appropriate, sports-focused social media platform designed to showcase and connect young athletes, parents, coaches, and their friends. On Small Player, Big Play, young athletes have the ability to utilize the app and share interest and accomplishments in this very safe and highly secure social media environment. It features live streaming with game day highlights and lucrative fundraising opportunities for your school and your team. Download the Small Player Big Play app on Google Play and the Apple App Store. That's today's High School Football America podcast, and I'm Jeff Fisher.